The thousands that were gathered in Richmond today, in Virginia, to protest the state government's assault on the Second Amendment are intrinsically linked to the historic reason why we take time off and none of our banks are working today. I know that Martin Luther King was thinking to himself, man, if I could just have a holiday where the banks close. That's power to the people. Anyway, it's Martin Luther King Day, and both the people of Virginia and MLK have one thing in common. They are both victims to the tyranny of the majority. That is, a small group of people who just think they know better, and they're able to persuade 51% of the vote and can dominate the lives of the other 49%. It's the reason why, after the Civil War, the 13th Amendment, the 14th Amendment, and the 15th Amendment, Black Americans were still suffering under Jim Crow. It's not because everybody in America, it's because a bunch of crazy racists decided, yeah, no, we fought the war and a whole bunch of people dead, but we're going to skate around that one. That is tyranny of the minority. It's the exact same reason why MLK was denied his constitutional right to carry a firearm in 1956. What? His home had just been bombed. They were shooting his windows out with rifles. And Martin Luther King was the guy who said, I don't really want to die. Could I get a license to carry a gun? Why, son, I don't think so. Here in the great state of wherever the hell we are, I'm not going to issue that gun permit because you'd be much safer if we took care of you. Oh, and that worked out really well. Anyway, Martin Luther King, at the time, was a North Star for much of America. And in some ways, he still can be a constitutional recalibration for our country's true north. Martin Luther King, in speech after speech, he called us to action. He said, America, live up to your principles that all men are created equal, endowed by their Creator, and that all of us are guaranteed rights that men on this earth have absolutely no right to be denied. See, the idea between the founders and Martin Luther King, God gave us the right to life, liberty, and property. Yes, we also have the right to defend all those things. The Bill of Rights doesn't grant us those rights. It exists to deny the tyranny of the majority or the government from once again coming between the individual and those God-given liberties of we the people. This is what's happening right now in Virginia. Multiple gun control laws have already passed through the state Senate, and a larger package is on the way. It is crazy what's happening there. It includes an assault weapons ban, a gun range ban. Yeah, you don't want to be shooting outdoors. Go into that really awful building where everybody's uncomfortable and it's super, super loud and kind of smells like smoke all the time. Go in there. Who wants to be in the outdoors while you're firing a gun? They're banning outdoor ranges. Why? A limit on how many guns you can actually buy. It goes on and on and on. It's the same legislation that Governor Ralph Northam tried to pass last July, but was promptly shut down by the Republican-controlled Congress. But everything has changed 4 months later. For the first time in a generation, Democrats, by a small margin of 10,000 or so votes, took full control of every lever of the state government. And so it's no surprise that their primary target was the Second Amendment. Can you imagine the balls it takes to stand in front of a crowd spewing a bunch of crap about white privilege, and then while sitting firmly atop your elite pedestal and protected high horse, you say to minority family that the Second Amendment no longer applies to them? Let me remind you who these people are. These are the kinds of things they do in their off time. Tell us, Governor, are you the one in blackface or the Klan hood? Because you've really never cleared that up. But today, Martin Luther King Day, today would be the good day to say, you know what, that was a bad idea. Today is the day we celebrate the life of Dr. Martin Luther King. And coincidentally, also the day that Northam's government is being protested by the thousands for denying Virginians their constitutional right to self-defense in the exact same way Martin Luther King was denied back in 1956. And I have to tell you, you Democrats, I got to give it to you. I do. At least you're consistent. Local governments within Virginia had begun rebelling in mass, designing their own counties as Second Amendment sanctuaries. You want to see what the tyranny of the the minority looks like? Look at this one. Let me show you where the elites are in their heavy populated urban centers while eating their caviar and sipping their fine wine. They're trying to inflict the will on those pesky little deplorables. I don't even know where they are. Take a look at this map and you'll see where they are. Look at that. The green means that they have passed Second Amendment sanctuary status. White means not yet. Either that or that's where all the racists live. And the red is where they've rejected it. Now, I see 3 or 4 cute little red areas. The rest of it is green. How is this happening? Well, it's easy. The first thing they did was made it harder for the average person to start collecting names to be able to impeach the governor. Once they had that done 4 months ago, then they started in on guns. Oh, and the Electoral College. They're getting rid of that in Virginia. This is so much more than guns. This is what happens when tyranny seizes control. The majority, if you will, in their state house and now in their gubernatorial house, they grab control off the backs of a few noisy radicals, and the price will always be your freedom. Now, this is not what Martin Luther King stood for. The party that claims to be the champions of civil rights has taken King's message and bastardized it and turned it completely inside out. The Virginia Citizens Defense League has been lobbying for the Second Amendment since the 1990s, and their annual Lobby Day rally has been peaceful every single year. But this year's rally that just finished up, oh my goodness. It is undoubtedly the most important one they've done. I'll have updates for you tomorrow on how everything went down. Little spoiler alert. Gosh, it was totally peaceful. And they even brought garbage bags and cleaned up after themselves. Who would have seen that one coming? Besides everyone in the movement and every good American that believes in the Constitution, we always strangely bring our own garbage bags to clean up the mess. You know who doesn't? The liberal left. What do? They usually burn down the city or they break windows. Then they trash an area while talking about the poor planet and then leave. That's not what conservatives and constitutionalists do. But I digress. More on that monologue tomorrow. From the get-go, you could tell that the governor of Virginia was setting a trap. A few days ago, he declared a state of emergency, banning weapons from the Capitol grounds. Several out-of-state militia groups were planning to attend, according to the governor, and instantly the media narrative has been exactly what the Democrats hoped for. What are the odds? Everyone from the Daily Beast to USA Today have been trying to frame Second Amendment gun rights activists as neo-Nazis and far-right extremists. Raus! You know what they did? You know what those guys did? The Nazis? They took people's guns away. Constitutionalists don't. Will bad actors show up? No, didn't seem like it. I mean, I'm surprised that like a couple of them didn't show up, but no, no. People were safe at the rally today and probably will be safe at any rally like this in the future. You know why? Because these people actually are what I like to call Americans. They believe in American ideals and principles, like everybody has a right to their opinion. So I'm not going to shut you down. Don't try to shut me down. I have rights. I know that was really popular for a while, but the left doesn't seem to really welcome those rights anymore. Also, the right has realized they've been infiltrated over and over and over again. And so they look to who they're standing next to, and they peacefully advocate for the Constitution. And what a surprise, in the same way Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. did. We cannot allow extremist elements to co-opt a message, and we cannot allow the media and those in places of power that are generally from the left to paint us a certain way that we're not. And our actions speak louder than words. Anyone who has a voice, we cannot allow the Democrats and the media to strip away our God-given rights of speech, of religion, of bearing arms. You can't label the Second Amendment defender as an extremist because I'm just wanting to abide by the Constitution. But that's exactly what the left does, and the media lets them get away with it. And it's exactly what Martin Luther King spent a lifetime opposing.